Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Do you think our state, Oregon, is in the top 3 best high school graduation rates in the country, or the top 3 worst high school graduation rates in the country? Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's the latter. Today I will tell you why this is so and what can be done about it. See, when I was growing up in my childhood and adolescence, my parents always told me how important it is to get good grades and to do well in school, and that it's a terrible idea to drop out. And I'm really glad that my parents told me these things. And with that being said, I wish high school wasn't taken so much for granted, and that more people would choose not to drop out, because it's really not something you want to do. First, I'll explain some of Oregon's history of graduation rates. Next, I will explain why Oregon is currently the 3rd worst state regarding graduation rates. Third, I will address actions that can be taken against it. To start, this is our graduation rate history over recent years. According to Oregon Live, only 66% of teens graduated high school in Oregon in 2010. And then according to governing.com, in 2011 and 2012, it was 68%. Then in 2013, according to governing.com again, it was 68.7%. And then in 2014, it raised a few percent to 72%, according to Oregon Public Broadcasting. And then finally, according to Oregon Live, it rose to 74% in 2015. But sure enough, right now we are the 3rd lowest high school graduate. We have the 3rd lowest high school graduation rate in the country. There are 5 major reasons for this. The first is that there's an overall lack of academic interest, because many high school students are overwhelmed by the standardized test and feel like they don't really have a chance to focus on their extracurricular passions. And these problems can start as early as elementary school. For example, those who had a below average reading level in the 3rd grade are a lot less likely to graduate high school down the line than those that didn't. And education is more or less pushed to the side because we have the 32nd lowest economic funding in the country, and so we're pretty down there, and we need to be more up there. And parents also fail to stress importance to their youth that you need to go to school, because many parents will allow frequent absences for their children when there's an indirect correlation between absenteeism and in high school graduation rates. Lastly, there's variance from state to state. To quote, despite federal rules trying to better align how these rates are calculated, there is still a fair amount of variability from state to state. Oregon's calculations and conservative relative to many states, and this has an impact on how we stack up in national comparisons. I have 4 ideas for things we can do to combat against this problem. My first idea is for us to enhance tutoring / curriculum of elementary schools, because like I said, how well you do in elementary school is somewhat of an indicator of how well you're going to do in high school. Another idea I have is for parents to check in on their kids and on a regular basis ask them how they're doing in school and what scores they're getting on their tests and exams, because my parents always did that when I was growing up, and it seems like some parents fail to really do that. And another idea I have is to make required tutoring for under 2.0 students in high school. Yeah, like if you're getting under a 2.0 in high school, then tutoring should be mandatory, because you need at least a 2.0 to even be able to transfer to a community college. And my last idea is for us to use more money effectively on Oregon education funding. In summary, Oregon's history of graduation rates has fluctuated between 68 and 74% over the past several years, with us currently being the third lowest state in the country. And there are 5 major reasons why we have such a low graduation rate, and four great methods we can take against it. Oregon having such a poor high school graduation rate is highly problematic, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Not finishing high school is not a good idea. Thanks for your time. Yes.
So I actually am the student representative on the Portland Public Schools Board of Education, and some of the things that you brought up were very interesting. So I want to ask you about, first, I guess, when you talk about parents checking in on their kids as one of the points, and considering Portland specifically has one of the highest, well, Oregon as a state has one of the highest child homelessness rates also in the country. I think those are translating issues. So like if that was an issue, what's another way do you think kids can get support in that way if parents aren't around?
Well, I think another way would be for teachers to reach out to their students and to let them know if they're getting a D or an F in the class and if they're in danger of failing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
So you mentioned requiring tutoring for folks with less than a C average. Would that be required, I mean, would that be publicly funded tutoring in your idea, or would that be paid for by the students' families?
Definitely funded by the public. Yes?
Why do you think Oregon is the third worst in your opinion?
I just stand by the reasons I listed. Yes?
So, given that we are the third worst in the country, is there a large variability between school districts or really sections of the country or sections of the state? Or is it pretty much bad overall?
Some areas of Oregon are better than others, but overall, it's not very good. Yes?
Do you think some of the poor graduation statistics could be related to the fact that we have so many people who don't speak English as a first language in Oregon? Because I knew that was a problem at my high schools. There wasn't enough services and teachers to help out some of the kids who Spanish was their first language or Russian was their first language. And because of that, there's a large group of kids who never got to graduate because they couldn't actually see success in that method. Do you think that could be a possible reason?
Totally. Yes?
do you think it, how can I put this, so like when I went to high school, we had like 8 classes total, so like A days we had 4 classes and B days we had 4 classes. And I was the last, because I graduated in 2011, so they switched all the days, so they'd just be in one, so they took all of their classes in one day. Do you think that affects the graduation rate because they don't have enough time to actually study the subject? That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes?
Where did you get your ideas for the solution? Is it like, are other states doing that, or is this, you just made this up, or through research, or how'd you get those ideas?
Yeah, I didn't research these ideas. These are all like just my theories.
Okay.
Yes?
In your research, did you find any correlation between parents' opinion of the public school institution and student graduation rate?
No, I didn't. Yes?
I have another question about, so overall graduation rate, we do very poorly, and then in specifically in underserved communities, we do even more poorly, so kids of color do even more poorly nationally in our public schools. So do you have any opinion on solutions to those problems?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
It's just about like specifically students of color do even more poorly statistically in Oregon than just us being 3rd worst in the country. Like our kids of color do even worse. Do you have any specific solutions to those problems, or do you think there's any correlation between those problems and the overall problems? Any suggestions?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Why? Maybe I guess this might seem like kind of a silly question, but why is it that you think graduating from high school is so important? I mean, so I heard about sort of some things that go into our graduation rates, but you opened up with saying that it's really important.
Because most professional jobs require at least a high school diploma. Yes?
Question.
Did you research at all if this is including GED or what the statistics would be if it included GED diplomas?
This is just for all students as a whole. It's not not specifically based on like gender or race or any demographics, just all students in general in Oregon.
Okay, thank you.